living la vida low carb. This show is changing lives. We talking about your diet, trying to get you feeling right. Cut up them avocados, fry some eggs, time to explore the longest running health podcast, hosted by Jimmy Moore. Time to give up the crappy garbage, we're getting into ketosis. Every day is a new step to your goal, yeah, you're getting closer. Motivated and focused, don't stop, just go. Time to get inspiration from the Living La Vida Low Carb Show. Hey, the livinglowcarbshow.com.
What's up?
What's up?
It's not our usual place.
It is very, very familiar. So let's get this show on the road. Guys, that right there is Brittany Davis. She is becoming Brittany Lee over on Instagram. And I know her very well. She is my best friend. So we kind of know each other's everything. And so very much happy to be in your life. We co-host a podcast together called the One Step Deeper Podcast. It airs on Mondays, debuts on YouTube on Sundays, and also here on Instagram in video format. She's also co-authoring a book by the same name, One Step Deeper Journal. Are you excited about that?
Oh, yes. Excitement is definitely one of the emotions I'm feeling.
I think scared is probably the most dominant one that I've heard so far.
Yes, yeah. Terrified, petrified, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you're here today. You're also a mom of 3, married for over 10 years. You're into gentle parenting, unschooling. You have ADHD and work on personal development. And part of your personal development story, Brittany, and the reason I wanted to have you on here today is you did something earlier this year that a lot of people have heard about, and they're like, no way, I would never do that. And it's the program by this guy, Andy Frisella, called 75 Hard. And so let's back up a little bit, learn a little bit of your story, and then we'll get into Andy's program, why you did it, and then the aftermath of that. Because it's been, what, like almost 2 months since you ended the program?
Yes,
you ended the program. So tell us who you are. People that don't listen to our podcasts may not know your story. Tell us your story.
I feel like Jimmy gave a good bit of like who I am, my name, my Instagram, what I do, what I'm about. Personal development is just who I am. It's become who I am. It started 3 years ago after a weight loss journey. Well, I have to tell a very important story of what happened to me at the beginning of 2020. So before the world went to, what everybody knows it went to, in November of 2019 at the Thanksgiving get-together. So we're coming up on the anniversary here. It's little emotions for me. I had a hernia. It had a freak accident, and I got a hernia. Really not that glamorous of a story, right? Okay, most people go in, get the little mesh, go home, about their business in a few weeks. Well, I got my mesh placed in December, and so much pain. I cannot even begin to describe how much pain I was in for the entire month of December, constantly on the phone with my doctor. There's a problem. There's a problem. This doesn't feel right. They're like, it's okay. It's normal to feel pain. I'm like, listen, I have a high pain tolerance. This don't feel normal. And so fast forward to January the 15th, I ended up with a very large, like grapefruit sized mass come up on one of the incisions. And my doctor's like, yeah, that's not normal. Maybe you should come in. And within the time I hit my doctor's office, he ultrasounded. I was in the emergency room having emergency surgery within an hour. The mesh had completely eroded my insides. My abdomen was black. I lost part of my intestines. I had an 8-inch incision. I went to sleep having emergency surgery thinking I was going to walk out with a 2-inch incision, and I ended up with 27 staples. It was quite an ordeal. I spent 24 days in the hospital, in and out, quite literally fighting for my life. I was at the lowest I had ever been, mentally, physically. Jimmy, you were there for that.
Oh, I remember you texting me about day 12 in the hospital and going, I don't think I'm going to make it. And I'm trying to encourage you, but in the moment, you were just so overwhelmed by the moment. And yeah, at one point you later confided to me as your friend, I actually wanted to die and was saying goodbye to my husband. I'm like, oh shit, like that. It was serious. And
it was.
Guys, she's only 20. You're 29 now. At the time, it was 27. And I'm thinking, you're not dying. No.
It was really tough. It was really, the pain, I can remember every searing, soaring, roaring pain during that time. I don't remember much in my life. Thank you, ADHD, but I remember that. And so I went through 2020 while everybody was shut down. I didn't have visitors or friends or family who saw me on a regular, so they didn't know what was going on. I literally reached the lowest of my life. I struggled. I had scar pain. I still struggle with scar pain to this day, you know, and we're reaching 2 years post-surgery. I still deal with pain and struggles. But during that time, I hit the lowest point in depression I had ever reached, and personal development was all but just stopped. There was no real personal development going on at the time. I just began to eat my feelings. I relapsed on an eating disorder that I had. 2020 was
personal development in the midst of all that was you holding on tight and not regressing. Maybe slightly regressed with some of the mentality things. I think you've brought them back here in 2021, but we'll get to that here in just a second. But yeah, your personal development journey last year was don't fall apart. And I think you did it. You had moments and you had a lot, but you didn't fall apart and you're still here.
Yeah. So I remember I put on a lot of weight, guys. I put on so much weight, you know, the 15 pounds that everybody was complaining about, that I put that to shame. Okay. I put on so much. I was just miserable and I was in pain and I couldn't get off the couch. I literally had convinced myself that I was incapable. And at the beginning I was incapable of doing anything. And so the reason why I tell you all that big, long story was to get you to understand where I was mentally. It was trash. I had zero mental toughness at this time. I was so defeated. Everything that had ever happened to me as a kid just kind of came back soaring. Everything that was happened to me, it was always somebody else's fault, and somebody did this to me, and this happened to me, and poor me, and I just, you know, I went down that spiral. And so I had seen 75 Hard before. I had heard of Andy Frisella, but I didn't know much about the program other than the 5 rules, which are pick a diet, follow a diet, no cheats. Doesn't matter what you pick, you just have to follow it, no cheats. A gallon of water every single day, 2 45-minute workouts, 1 must be outside. Take a progress picture every single day, and then 10 pages in a personal development book.
And the one for Brittany was no alcohol.
Probably.
You were looking at some of the elements and you're like, oh, there's a citrus one in here and it's kind of like a margarita. I'm like, oh, is for her.
That really helped. Yes, that definitely helped during. And so I knew the rules. And so one day, oddly enough, I was mad at Jimmy this day. I have to tell. Jimmy and I were in a fight, and we're so close with as friends, that it just really messed with me. And so I went outside for a walk. I was like, I gotta go for a walk. And the walk felt so good. It was helping me clear my head and kind of calm down from what was happening. And it was an hour walk. And so I had already been drinking water. I drink water very regularly. And I just so happened to pick up a new book that day because I was in therapy. I have it next to me. Driven to Distraction. It was about ADHD. And so I'd already read that day. And so later on that afternoon, I really got to thinking. I was like, I've done 3 of the tasks. Taking a progress picture, I can do that right now. That's 4 out of 5 tasks. The only thing left is to do a workout. And so what convinced me in that moment was I'm about to ask ALEXA. I don't want to set yours off. I'm about to ask her how many days until my anniversary trip, because my anniversary was coming up. And I said, depending on what it says, if it's less than 75 days, I'm not doing it.
Right.
I asked, and she said 75 days until October 1st. I said, well, there's my answer. And so I did my second 45-minute workout. And that's how I started 75 Hard.
I remember you called me and you're like, so I started 75 Hard. I'm like, wait. We're best friends. How did I not know? She's like, I didn't know until the end of the day. And I was like, I'm almost there. Let me do a workout. All right, I did day 1.
It's an accident. No, I don't suggest doing it that way.
Because you and I had been talking about maybe a 75 Hard. I ended up doing what I'm doing now, the sabbatical to 50, which I'm deep into now. And then, yeah, you were like, dude, I'm gung-ho. I'm going to go. And you were off to the races. Did you know what you were getting yourself into?
Oh, hell no. No. I did not know what I was getting myself into.
Yeah, I again was there through the whole 75, and like my journey, I tell people if I'd known some of the adversity I would face, and I've had a lot in my own journey, and you know all about it too.
Yeah.
I know that I would have been like gung ho about doing it, but that's part of the fun when you start a journey like this. And look, you cannot miss a day on 75 hard. I've taken rest breaks on mine. I'll incorporate that because I allowed that flexibility into my program. I didn't like 75 hard because I didn't like the idea of pushing yourself through when you didn't really feel like it, and you had a good excuse. You were like tired or whatever, sore, whatever. You couldn't cheat. You could modify, but you could never cheat. And you had to do some major modifications on any a day.
Oh, yeah. So because of the past with the surgery, I still struggle with a lot of digestive issues. If I eat certain foods, it causes bloat. Bloat causes immediate pain because it pushes on all those scars. Like I said, I have an 8-inch incision that pretty much starts underneath, like right in the middle of my ribs, just straight, maybe not in the middle of my ribs, somewhere around the bottom of my rib cage, all the way down through my belly button. Like it's massive. It is a badass scar that I have. And then I have other sections too where I ended up having to have multiple procedures while I was in the hospital, and so those just cause so much pain. I still have internal scars where I lost some of my intestines, and I actually still feel the pain in those areas. And so I remember very, very vividly week 1. And let me tell you, if anybody's ever interested in doing 75 hard, if you can get through the first 10 days, like, it is brutal, beyond brutal, because your body is not used to working, maybe not even used to working out at all, which I was at the point where I wasn't used to working out at all. And now I'm adding in 2 workouts every single day. My body was screaming sore the first 10 days. And within the first 10 days, I wore out the soles of my shoes. I had to go get new shoes. That's a whole nother story too within this. But I think it was like day 3 or day 4, the pain in my scars just picked up so bad. I was like, I can't not do anything. I have to do something. And I remember laying on the floor with a weight and just pushing it above my head for 45 minutes. I would do a set of 10, take a break. Do a set of 10, take a break. I don't care who you are. 45 minutes of pushing any weight above your head is hard work, but I couldn't do anything. I just had to lay on the floor because my stomach was just in so much pain, but nothing. Yeah, exactly. But I did it. I was determined at that point. There was no motivation. There was just sheer determination, and that's what the program is about. It's about mental toughness of getting through those hard moments and doing it no matter what.
Well, and Andy has a great podcast. What's the name of the podcast again?
Real AF.
Real AF, which you discovered was not but Andy Frisella. You just discovered that a couple of weeks ago. You were on our show, and you're like, "Oh,
I got it."
Andy Frisella," and I was like, "ADHD moment there, Britt."
Yep, it sure was. Yeah, live and in front.
That was great. But yeah, you took that by the horns. You took that bull by the horns and you ran with it, and you took it to heart. And there were many days where I was like, you're going to make it to the end. And you're like, yeah, bitch, I know. Like, I'm not going to not work. Like, you were so fired up. And it was very inspiring to me starting my Sabbatical to 50 program. Mine's 100 days. I'm currently on day 77 as of the recording of this. And I'm going to make it to the end as well, because I saw someone like yourself who, I think your program was much harder than mine. I'm doing a lot of biohacks, but yours, that consistency every day, even when you don't feel like it, even when you're hurting, even, you got all the way to the end of that program. There was such, you were in such jubilee that last week. Great word for you. And even the last 3 days, you're like, I don't want to jinx it, but I think I'm going to make it. I'm like, oh, you've already made it. You're already there. But you're pushing to the end, and literally the last day was the day you were going off on your anniversary trip, and you got it all in and done, and then what happened?
Oh, man. Well, that very last day, I think that's important. Like, I want to talk about that. I was so thankful to have people like Jimmy who were cheering me on, and then obviously all of my followers who were following me and cheering me on. I had some people actually join me through. That was really cool. My kids would go on the walks with me in the afternoons. I loved it. I loved it so much. But that very last day, we originally were going to leave on our anniversary, so I was going to be done with 75 Hard. But we ended up having to push it a day back. So my last day of 75 Hard was the day that we left for our trip. And so I was like, I am not quitting. I am not. I don't care if I'm on a trip. I'm still completing this stuff. I'm completing it. And so Wildman, who is my husband, by the way.
Yes.
Keto can be hard. Tabulating, measuring, baking, taking 3 months to perfect one recipe, and to mixed reviews.
Did something die in here? Oh, I think it moved.
And by that point, you give up your diet, find a dark corner, and stuff yourself with sugar, carbs, and regret.
This, isn't what it looks like.
Well, this is where Keto Chow saves the day. The easiest, tastiest, ketoist meal replacement on the market.
It's like ice cream melted in my mouth.
Yes, but melted ice cream with all the protein, nutrients, vitamins, and electrolytes your body needs.
Oh, that's cool.
And with 3 starter kits, each with restaurant tips, keto food guides, and a ton of flavors to try, your taste buds and your waistline will thank you.
Thank you.
So grab your starter kit today at jimmylovesketochow.com.
It's so easy.
Keto Chow. Make keto easy.
You were going to say something?
I was going to say, I remember on that last day, you were like, I kind of want sweet potato fries or something you wanted. And I'm like, is it over by that point? Go have them. Like at that point, you were so worried because you did not cheat. You stayed very clean in your program. It's not keto, but it was, what was the actual program you did?
I was just counting macros.
So yeah, according to your macros. And then you did the walks, you did all the everything. And yeah, don't mess that up. But then when it's over, yeah, go enjoy I think it was the next day that you're going to go enjoy yourself. I'm like, girl, you done. Go.
Yeah. It was the next day that I finally did let in, and kind of let go a little bit. But I just remember that very last workout. We had made it to the hotel. We had already eaten our dinner, which I followed through. I had already drank all my water. Everything was done except for that last workout. And so Wildman and I went downstairs to the gym, and we just like banged out the last workout together. It was so cool to have him finish strong with me. It was such a cool moment to just like, be done. And it was. And I rode that high of I did it for several weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, because you were at the end there, your back had been hurting for a series of weeks, like 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Had back pain, which turned out to be like your footwear, and you got running shoes, and that helped to fix it. And then your back started healing, which ironically, when I started having ankle pain, it was my shoes as well. So knowing that you went through your experience with the shoes helping your back, I thought, well, let's see if it helps my ankles. And sure enough, the ankles are much better now since I've changed shoes. So who knew? Shoes.
Shoes. Yeah. Guys, for real, check your shoes. Go get measured. It's so important if you're like having chronic back pain, like, or ankle pain like Jimmy was having. Okay, that was just a little tip for you.
Yes. About the company Feet, but I'm sure there's other companies that do running shoes. I got the Hoka something. Yeah. So anyway, the nice shoes. You got to go get them.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
So you went through the 75 hard. Are there any regrets about how it all went down?
I regret nothing, but if you follow me or you know me, I am the most observant person that I know. Like, I have to pick apart everything. Like, everything that I do, everything that I attempt, I have to see the good in it and the bad in it.
Yeah.
I really do.
I can definitely attest to that as her being my best friend. She picks apart everything.
Everything.
Drive me crazy with that, but yes.
I could come up with a list of positives and definitely a list of neutral things where, not really good, not really bad, and I could definitely come up with a list of possible negative type things. So for me, my story is I'm a perfectionist. I've always been one. I'm a type 1 Enneagram, if you know what that is. And I'm really type A, follow the list. So having rules in 75 hard really worked well for my brain. I knew I had to do these 5 things every day, and when I did, I got the check mark the day. Yeah, I won the day. very, very good for my brain. However, when I was functioning at this level, doing all 5 of these things every single day, checking all these boxes, doing all the things, and then the day after, now I was a little distracted because I was on my trip, but when I got back home and then I bumped down to 1 workout, in most people's mind, they're like, yay, I did that. But in my mind, I had already set a standard so high that I knew I was underachieving because I had done more in the past. And so it set my mindset up for, you're not doing enough. And for someone who struggles with not doing enough already on a daily basis, that really messed with me.
Yeah, you felt like a failure in that moment. I remember you telling me, I'm only working out once. I'm like, Britt, you're working out. Like, you just went through a really intense period. You're not in that period anymore, but it had become so much of a habit for you, which is great. You don't want to lose habits, but you let the habit become a new rule.
Yeah, that was definitely a problem. So, I'm very self-aware, and I like to watch the patterns within myself, all part of my personal development. And so I did notice the pattern very soon of just the negative self-talk that came out of such a high self point. Like, I had reached like maximum confidence while I was on 75 hard, and it had nothing to do with what my body looked like, or it had nothing to do with that kind of progress. It was just like, look at me, I'm doing the thing. And so afterwards, when those 5 things, and it was now my turn to continue on the path by myself, and it wasn't that I was a complete failure at everything. It was just, I knew that I could function at a higher pace because I had, and then I wasn't there in that current state. And so not very good for my perfectionist brain, and having this constant need for everything to be more. And I'm definitely I need it to be more kind of person. And so that was really a struggle for me.
So let's talk about what happened in the midst of the journey, because one of the struggles I probably heard from you the most about, this is fun doing this with my best friend and having all of the intimate knowledge of how things went down behind the scenes. You get the little glorious on-camera version of Brittany, and then you get the real version of Brittany. One of the things that really frustrated you, and I want you to speak to it, was the frustration of the scale, because you lost a modicum of weight at the very beginning, as most people do when they start a journey. And then your scale just stayed stuck. What made you feel like you needed to quantify your 75 hard journey by stepping on a scale? Because Andy didn't have that in his protocol. Andy Frisella says take pictures. And I think he was way ahead of the curve of trying to ward off some of the psychological stuff. And yet Brittany, in her grand wisdom then, said, I'm going to weigh and piss myself off every day.
Every single day I would piss myself off. And so I set myself up for that constant battle, but I was going to finish the program no matter what. And so going into it, I was like, I'm going to do this no matter what the scale says. But that didn't mean I was absolutely just disgusted every single day. So I started at, arguably like my highest weight since the beginning of my first weight loss journey back in 2018. And I didn't get back up to that size. I was still 40 pounds less than when I started that one. But, I'd gained some weight back from my lowest. And so when I started, the first 10 days, I lost 8 pounds. I was so excited. Yay, that's really good, And I knew it wouldn't stay like that. But then at that point, zilch. I mean, absolutely nothing. The scale would just do the 1 pound up, 1 pound down. Bounce, just the bounce. If you track your weight every day, you follow the trends. Just that aggravating stall, just frustration of nothing moving. And like I was literally giving it everything I'd ever given in my life.
And yet you were also posting pictures, and you were sending me pictures in between, and I'm going, Brittany, how much weight you've lost on the scale? Do you see the difference in those pictures? And you're like, yeah, but I want to see it on the scale. And I'm like, why? I can physically see it with my eyes. It's like it was stark from day 1 to day 75, super stark. Even though the total amount of weight loss may not have been impressive if you said the number. Who cares? You look at that first picture and that last picture, you lost a lot of belly fat.
Yeah. So, and just for reference, and again, I shouldn't have done this to myself. So the first 10 days, I lost 8 pounds. The whole rest of the time, I only lost 2 more.
Right.
Like my total pounds lost. No, I take that back. I'm doing the math wrong. I think 13 total. So five more pounds. I'm so sorry.
But
So 5 more pounds.
but in 75 days, you probably had an expectation it would be a whole hell of a lot more than 13 pounds.
Yeah, 13 pounds and literally gave it my all. I mean, I was getting up at the butt crack of dawn and going to the gym, and I was running, and I was doing all the things, following a diet. Like, this is the most consistent I had ever been in my life. And so to not see consistent change in that measurement really messed with my brain so much. But yes, obviously through progress pictures, I could see the difference. I did notice the difference there, but my brain was like, I see it, but this measuring device says otherwise, so we're going to go with that because I'm a numbers person.
You and I had many a discussion of that stupid lying liar that lies, as you know, I like to call the scale, the gravity detecting device. I say all kind of things that make it sound horrible because it is horrible.
Yeah.
I want to just look that person in the eye that created the kick them in the nuts because they made so many of us so frustrated over the years, all at the holy altar of what this gravity detecting device has to say. But you did. I think you're in a good place now with the scale. You still probably weigh and like to weigh and everything, but it's not near. Oh, you don't anymore. It worked. It worked. All the preaching at you finally worked.
Yeah, and so it's funny how, my closest friend and then my husband, who I am very close with, were telling me the same thing. And it literally took this other person, my dad. My dad made a comment. I was talking to him about my frustration with the scale and everything that had happened on 75 hard, and he's like, but Brittany, I literally see the muscle. And I was like, oh, really? You do? Oh, okay. I don't know why I could accept that as truth from my dad, but not my friend. I guess it's like, well, Jimmy and Chris have to tell me.
All three love you in our own way. And so it took your dad, which you have a great relationship with now. You, in the midst of this, didn't always have a great relationship. And that also was another kind of happy experience out of this. Hey, whatever it takes.
Yeah, so, and I wanted to bring that up. So I believe that doing 75 hard led me back to a relationship with my dad. I know that's a lot to put on a program, but when you have a list of things to do and you don't have to do them, even if they're hard, even if you're in pain, even if even if these things are happening, you still have to do the thing. I got to a point where I hadn't spoke to my dad in 6 months. It was bad. We hadn't spoke in 6 months, and I literally got to the point where I was just like, I have to, I have to do this. And I think it was right before I started 75 hard that we started talking, literally right before. And then I started 75 hard, and through the program, it just kept pushing me to I've got to make this relationship something.
And you made a discovery about your dad when you were at the beginning of this, because one of the first things he told you was what? Tell that story about, I don't think you can.
So I was very early on, and so my dad had come over to my house, and I remember very vividly, he was standing at my island at my house, and he was like, you're not going to do it. You're not going to be able to finish it. And he just said it so casual, he just said it, and I was just like, okay, fine then. And so several weeks go by, and I think I'm at day 50. I'm going to get this done. I was getting closer to the end. And I was like, see, I told you I can do it. He's like, yeah, I know. I was like, what do you mean? You told me I couldn't do it. He said, I only told that to you because you're just like me. When somebody tells you to do something, you ain't going to do it no matter what. If somebody tells you to do something. But if somebody tells you you can't do it, you're going to do everything in your power to do it. And I was like, God dang, you psychological torture person. But he was right. He was really right when it came to that.
And it was so cool. There's so many of those kind of stories out of your 75 hard. And I'm not saying, guys, that you will go on a program like 75 hard and suddenly all these kind of things happen in your life, but they sure did for Brittany, and good things that now you carry out of it. And look, it wasn't all great. You come out of this and you were gung-ho about maybe trying the different phases of other parts of Andy's program. And what did you decide? What happened?
Yeah, so there's after you do 75 hard the first days, there's another program that includes 75 hard called Live Hard. And it's basically a year-long program where you do 75 hard and then 3 phases. Phase 1 is the same rules plus 3 more tasks. Then you must take a 30-day break between doing anything. Then you start phase 2, which you're just going back to a 30-day version of 75 hard.
Buddy, I gotta tell y'all about something. This fancy little drink right here. This only has 3 ingredients: water, ice, and Element. I'm so excited to be partnered with Element right now for the One Step Deeper podcast. Oh my god, let me tell you. Look at all these gorgeous electrolytes. They have so many delicious flavors, but my absolute favorite and the one you saw me sipping on was the citrus one, because let me tell you, it's like sipping on a margarita. So good. So if you're interested in trying these amazing electrolytes for yourself, you can go to drinklmnt.com/Jimmy for your free sample there. No, seriously, it's a free sample. All you have to do is pay the shipping. You got to try these, I'm telling you. So good.
So guys, you might notice we're both wearing different clothes. We did not change clothes during the break, I promise you. Instagram decides to cut off my video. So Brittany, welcome back. We're like a week after we recorded, and you were right in the middle of a really important part of your story with 75 Hard, of where you were describing phase 3 and then like why you decided not to go into the phases. So pick up from there.
Okay, so I discussed the other 2 phases. Phase 3 is basically all the same thing as the 75 hard, all the other rules, but you add in even more tasks to do, and you can't start it until 30 days to the day, 30 days before the last day of your first 75 hard. So that would mean I would end on September 30th of this year.
Right.
Yes, next year. So I decided this was not the time for me. I decided that, and like up until probably after I finished 75 hard, I was like, I'm doing the phases. We're doing this. Okay, we're going to go all the way. We're going to do the Live Hard program. We're going to do this, Brittany. And afterwards, when I started to really be aware of myself and aware of where I was mentally, I was like, I'm not ready for the phases this round of 75 hard. That didn't mean I'd never revisit them or do them at another time, but it wasn't the year for me to attack them.
Well, look where you came from last year. We've already talked about it earlier in the interview, where you almost died last year. You weren't in a great place. You wanted to do this right about the time that you ended up having all your issues. So the fact that you have come back so strongly from that experience to the point that you would even do 75 hard, I don't know many people that would have their guts basically split open, it all hanging out on the deathbed. I know I'm kind of like dramatizing to make the point, hyperbolizing a little bit too, but you aren't in a good place. And even today, you're in a little bit of pain from those stitches. So it's like, it's still 2 years later, you're still dealing with the ramifications of this. And yet you still did 75 hard. I think they need to have a little asterisk next to your 75 hard, because I don't know many people in your situation that just not that long ago, year and a half-ish ago, laid up in a hospital and didn't know if you could live. The fact that you did 75 hard in September, which is right at like a year and a half later, not an hour and a half later, that would be an accomplishment if you did it an hour and a half, but a year and a half later. And yes, it was hard, as we've been describing. Duh, it's called 75 hard. And you did it and you accomplished it. I don't think you have anything to prove to yourself or anyone else.
Yeah, and I think there was a lot of that. I had this, like, there's almost this push of, well, you did 75 hard, so you kind of have to do the other ones. And the other ones aren't necessarily any harder. But it was just a matter of, and I had to, like, listen, I'm really hard on myself, where I ask myself the hard question of, am I giving myself an excuse to not do these things because I don't want to, or do I have a legitimate reason to pass on doing the phases this time? And I've seen a lot of people do the program and stop after 75 hard. But the problem with myself, as I described earlier, was like, I have this problem where it's never good enough.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to make myself be happy, satisfied, and good enough with finishing 75 hard. Come on, that's a crazy accomplishment. And for me to get to the end of it going, well, I still not done because I still got all these other things. Like, I have to stop that in myself. And so being aware of where my brain was already at that point, is like, I'm not ready mentally in my personal development journey. I'm not ready to attack those tasks just yet. I will revisit them. I am excited to revisit them at a later date. You know, I'm already thinking, like, when am I doing round 2 of 75 hard? When am I doing this? I am looking forward to it.
That was where I was just about ready to go. I know you well enough, as we're best friends. I know you well enough. 75 hard is in your next 6 months. You're going to do another one.
Yeah. I'm like trying to think, am I going to start like right after I get back from Christmas, or am I going to wait till like beginning of the year? I don't want the cliche start on January 1st, but who cares? I'll start whenever I need to.
You might want to wait till after our book is out, because you don't want the pressure of 75 hard and then your first book, and you kind of want to celebrate that, and so you can't have the bubbly during the.
Hey,
well, I know you well enough. You need. What did you say?
It would make it really hard, and that would be quite a accomplishment to get that done.
Yeah, we're planning that. It's going to come out early next year. But yeah, I mean, I envision you incorporating this regularly, and maybe you'll go into the phases down the road. But I love your knowing yourself well enough and knowing where you are in your body, and especially the last few days of kind of dealing with some pain in your body. It's reminding you, because you would have been in the midst of one of the phases right now had you started that, and you'd be like, what have I done? Like, give yourself that rest and everything. And you have. And I don't think you've regressed. I think you talked about it earlier of, you know, you kind of went a little bit off plan there for a few weeks. And like, look, you were on so strictly for 75 days. You deserved to kind of loosen it up a bit. And then you kind of tightened it back up again, and you're adding back in. You're still doing all those things. It's a week later since we last talked. And so are you still doing all the everything?
Yeah, so for the most part, you know, I let loose a little bit. Obviously I let loose while I was on vacation with my husband, and I had a lot of fun. And then, you know, I had a really great Halloween party. I let loose all the way. I was all the way let loose at the Halloween party, and I enjoyed myself for several weeks, and it was great. And then I just tightened things back up, as in my body won't let me continue to live that kind of life. So you know, as Jimmy said, I've been in pain for the last couple of days. You know, I've talked about what happened to me. I still have pain the last couple of days. It's been really, really tough. And, you know, I could eat something and it'll set my pain off. And that's kind of where I've been. So my body doesn't let me just let loose all the time and eat all the things and do all the things. So I still have to be pretty strict with what I eat, right, so that I can function on a daily basis. And so, yeah, I'm back to what I do on a normal basis. That's the best way to take care of me and take care of my body and the pain that I still have. You know, now that I know that I can push through pain and do workouts, I now get to ask myself the question, am I going to push through this workout because I need to, or because I need something, I have to prove something to myself, or is it okay to actually be in rest mode right now? And that rest mode is hard for me. And so that was a negative to the 75 hard, was there was no rest, which was good for my brain. But on the tail end of that, it set me up even more for feeling like I could never rest and I could never stop.
On a day like the last couple of days, you would have craved a rest day.
Yes. Yeah. And I've definitely needed it. And so I'm thankful for that lesson that I feel like I have learned of, yes, I have accomplished really big things, but I also need really big rest to recover from doing big things. And so, yes, I am still working out. I do still go on my walks. I love my walks, even though it's cold AF, and I don't like that. I do not like being cold. I am not like Jimmy plunging into ice bath. But
I just got back from a walk. My ears are still actually cold from the walk. So
I would be like bundled up.
Yeah.
I would be so bummed if I was walking. But yes, I still do work out in my home garage. Every once in a while, I will go over to the gym and just stay active.
One thing we didn't talk about the last time I'd like to bring up now is you didn't do keto as your eating plan. And some of that has to do with your hospital stay. You and I've kind of surmised that something happened when they put Humpty Dumpty back together again, where you couldn't handle a lot of the keto foods. This could be educational. I would love to have my audience at least hear your thoughts about what happened.
Yeah, so I did come from keto background. That's how I met Jimmy. That's how we connected, and I lost all of my original 70 pounds on a low carb diet, and I loved the lifestyle. Loved living that way. I went into the hospital living that lifestyle when I had the hernia, the original surgery in December, and then I wasn't really eating because I was in extreme pain before I had to go back in for the second surgery. And when I got home from the hospital, my body would not eat. Like, I was screaming in agony. Now, I guess not remember, because I haven't told you, I didn't eat for 19 out of 24 days in the hospital. I wasn't allowed to eat because of what had happened. And so when I get home and my doctor's like, you need a high calorie diet. He literally said, go home and eat. So I tried, but my body would basically attack. Like, I don't know. I can't describe it. It was just really painful to try to eat anything. The bloating, all of the stuff would happen. So I tried to eat healthy, and my body just wouldn't allow it. So I literally lived off of, y'all forgive me, ramen noodles and grilled cheese sandwiches.
You knew what how to do at that point. If you couldn't get anything else down and that's all you could get down, you eat those things. I remember at the time you were like confessing to the keto Jesus, talking to me, Jimmy, I sinned and have fallen short of the great keto gods. And it's like, no, you eat grilled cheese and ramen noodles if that's all you can get down, because you were very thin at that point.
Yeah, I had lost even more weight in the hospital, and I'd gotten down to like, my size 4s were falling off of me. So I never in my life been that small, and I didn't like it. I did not like. What was funny was, like, when I got out of the hospital, I was my original goal weight. And I saw myself and I was like, no, no. That is not the goal. That is not the weight. I don't like it. No. And so I was kind of happy to put on some more weight, but laying in the bed, I would eat like a grilled cheese a day. So going back to that story, for about 4 to 6 weeks, I really bland noodles, I'm sorry, it's sad to look back on. I just was in survival mode for so long. And so after about 8 weeks, I finally was able to get around on my own a little bit more. I didn't have to have as much help. I could start cooking again. And so I started going back to those foods that I loved that made me feel so good before the surgery. And every time I'm sorry, I haven't really cried or grieved about this. So here you go, live and on your show. Every time I would make a wonderful keto meal or a low carb dish, I just would be in awful pain. And I tried. I think I tried for like 4 weeks that first time before I finally gave up. And then I just got frustrated and went back to eating grilled cheese sandwiches, and I just got frustrated. And so a little bit longer would go by, and at that point I'm not able to move because I'm in pain, but I'm eating a bunch of junk food because that's the only thing my body will let me eat. So the weight starts packing on. And so a couple months go by just surviving, and I'm like, all right, I got to get back to low carb, got to get back to weight, I got to get back to it. I tried again, like almost immediately. Anything vegetable wise, anything fruit wise, anything at that point would just immediate pain in my digestive system.
Was it bloating? Was it just unable to digest the food, or was it a little bit of everything?
Yeah, it was a little bit of everything. So if I eat something, and still to this day, it immediately is bloat. And then it's just like, I'm assuming there's just not good digestion going on, and I actually survived off of digestive enzymes for a while, but even after a while, they weren't cutting it. And so I was like, it's not. And so I even tried carnivore for a while. I was like, well, maybe it's just the vegetables. And so going carnivore, even that, I guess the higher amounts of fat content, right. Everything. And I was so frustrated. I had many conversations with Jimmy. I was like, I don't want our friendship to end because I'm not doing keto. He's like, come on, it's not that surface level.
No. Yep. by that point, we'd been friends on other issues well beyond our diet that we shared. So, and I have no anything against you today. You're surviving. You're doing what you have to do. And like, even still, you still are like tinkering with things. And the pain you've had the last couple of days is yet another, oops, can't have that food now. Okay, let's add it to the list. And so it's one of those things that I love that you're articulating it, and maybe other people had a similar experience. Maybe they went in for a surgery, they had to put things back together, and then they couldn't handle some of the food. So guys, that's a thing. I'm really glad we were able to bring this out in the extra part of this interview. Is people think, oh, it's keto, and you were a keto coach. You were helping people with coaching, helping them do keto. So you know all the ins and outs probably better than I do of keto. And yet it didn't work for you, and you had to recognize that. It goes back to the bio individuality, and as we said earlier, you're counting your macros, and that's working for you right now.
Yeah, I have to. I've had to learn to adapt, which is a 75 hard tool that you get. You learn to adapt. You learn to just go with the flow. And so yeah, I ate something last night. It happened to be collard greens because I'm a girl from the South, and it's the first time I had eaten collard greens after my surgery, and it was immediate. I look at my husband, I'm like, bring on the Advil, bring it on, because here it comes. And I knew what had happened. So collard greens get added to the list of things that I will avoid. And so now it's a sad life I live, but I love it. I eat the same thing for breakfast, lunch, and the same rotations of dinners every single day. But you know what? I'm fed, I'm alive. I accomplished 75 hard doing it that way. And what else am I gonna do? What else am I gonna do?
And look, I think it's admirable, all the more admirable, your 75 hard experience was doing this, if it fits your macros, when you've been a keto girl for a long time in your life. And so at least since the weight loss experience that you had almost 4 years ago now. So, all right, make the pitch for anybody. Maybe they've heard all your story now and they're like, ooh, that was a lot, Brittany. You're not making it sound real desirable to want to try 75 hard. So make your best pitch. What if Andy Frisella said, okay, Brittany Davis, go tell people why they need to start a 75 hard program. What would you say? Tell them now.
So the cool thing about 75 hard program is you get out of it what you put into it. And I absolutely loved every minute of it, even the hard parts, because when you are doing hard things and you're proving to yourself, you're developing this sense of self-trust that, wait a minute, I can do the thing. I can keep promises to myself. I can do the hard things. And so when you're doing these hard things and you intentionally are making yourself do these hard things every single day, the other hard things in life begin to look a little bit easier. And one of the tasks that's on there is read 10 pages of a nonfiction personal development self-help book. And I took that as like a personal challenge of I am going to get the most out of this program that I can mentally, because it's a mental toughness challenge. It's not a body challenge. It's not about your body. It's about your mind, because your body can work out twice a day for 45 minutes. It can. Your mind. Your mind is the one that you're having to battle. And so going through 75 hard, the best thing you're going to get out of it is that mental toughness to know that you can do all those things. And like I was saying with the books, 10 pages a day, 75 days, that's 750 pages. I read 3,112. I literally read almost 12 books during my time because I was like, I'm going to get everything out of this program that I can. And you can do that too.
Yes.
You into the program, you're going to get return. You're going to get return on it. It's just all what you put in.
And in the midst of it, you were writing on the book we're writing together. I had never seen you so passionate and on fire, which you're always that anyway. It's one of the reasons why we're friends, is that we share that passion for life and wanting more in it. And you were sending me all this stuff, and I'm like, wait, I'm the writer. Slow down. But one of your chapters was when life gets hard, you push harder. And it was inspired by this program, the 75 hard. So guys, if it sounds even remotely like something you want to do, don't wait for January 1st. Start now. Start December 1st. After Thanksgiving's over, you're going to have a little time. Start December 1st, and Brittany will be the first to tell you it's going to be hard, but at the end, it's going to be worth it.
So worth it.
Yes, yes. So guys, go check her out. Brittany Davis, becoming.Brittany Lee over on Instagram. She is the co-host of this podcast with this goofball, and he's horrible, but she's wonderful. Just kidding. On the One Step Deeper podcast, go listen on Mondays, wherever podcasts are heard. It's also on YouTube on Sundays, even here on Instagram and all the different places where we do it. So go check it out. And then we're also writing a book together called One Step Deeper Journal, coming in the first quarter of next year, pretty much taking off the whole month of December from all of my everything so we can finish up this book and have it out. Real excited. Are you excited for your first book?
Yeah. Oh, yes. I'm very excited. Just try not to get overwhelmed.
Yes, yes. I've tried to keep her calm. This is my 10th book, so I'm like, you got this, sweetie. It's not going to be, it's not as bad, but it's exciting. And I want you to be excited, but not overwhelmed excited. That's the balance with you. I have to okay, let her know, okay, this is cool, but it's not so cool. Don't get overwhelmed. It's a fun balance. So that's why our friendship works, right? So, well, Brittany, thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Get inspiration from the Living La Vida Low Carb Show. Hey, the livinglowcarbshow.com.
Woo! Tired of playing the mask game? Me too. That's why I wanted to tell you about the Unmask. This is a breathable, completely breathable. It covers, you can't even see that it's breathable, but it's breathable. Whether you're going on a plane, having to go into a store and wearing this thing, playthemaskgame.com is how you can get this mask. They come in all kinds of colors and everything. In fact, right there, you can see right through it what it is, but when you're wearing it, it does not look like it's anything different, but it's breathable, baby. Playthemaskgame.com.